We've got giant snake monsters.
Magical wizard boys.
Needle fingers.
We've even got human puppets.
Is this just another horror rehash?
I don't believe fairy tales.
Or is this the greatest Freddy movie ever?
Freddy's back again.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3.
So, as you guys have seen from the intro, today we're going to be reviewing one of the greatest sequels of all time. We've got Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. This sequel went all out with better set pieces, bigger effects, and a fantastic backstory that delved deeper into Freddy's origins. Like I said, I really think this is one of the greatest sequels ever, and I can't wait to get stuck into this one.
Yeah, I've seen it loads of times. Grew up with this film. I used to think it was better than the original. It's a close second for me. I wouldn't argue with someone who preferred this film because it's pretty special. But last night, prepping for this, because we said we're gonna do this video, and I thought I need to watch it again to double check. I remember all the notes, and I was so tired after work, I was almost falling asleep trying to watch it while the characters in there were struggling to stay awake. But I got a coffee and I nailed through it, and I fucking loved it. In fact, I enjoyed it more last night than I have for a while because I really got into the spirit of it, you know.
Yeah, do you know what? I made the exact same joke to my girlfriend last night because I was wrecked myself. We chucked it on late and I was like, this is the worst film to watch when you're tired because you're watching these teenagers struggling to stay awake. But yeah, like you said, Jenks, it is a fantastic sequel. And putting aside the cultural importance of the first movie and what it's done for horror and the significance of the original, I do actually prefer this movie. This is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It always has been. I think it may have even been the first one I ever watched. You know, when you're a kid, I didn't see numbers. I was just chucking on any horror film I could get my hands on. And this is the one that I remember the most. And this is the one that I always went back to. Sometimes I even just crave Freddy and I watch this one on its own. I believe there's only two really solid Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I think it's the first one and this one.
Yes, definitely. And it's clear that like West Craven's come back. He could see that the ship was getting way off course with number 2. It's an odd film, number 2 is. We might do a review of that another time. Very odd film, not a terrible film, but it's a strange one. And he's come back in, he's written a story, he didn't direct it. I think Chuck Russell directed it.
Yes, Chuck Russell from The Mask.
Yeah, and I didn't know he directed The Mask until you mentioned it. And I thought it's such a contrast between Jim Carrey and Freddy Krueger. You know, because the plot of this film is pretty. It's just quite unique, actually. It's the last kids of Elm Street, the last victims, basically the potential victims. None of them are sleeping. They're on drugs to stay awake. They're on problems, mental problems,
and they're in hospital.
Yes, and they're all having this. The doctors think it's a shared delusion of this boogeyman. They're all trying to stay awake. But do you know the thing about I noticed last night watching this, what I've never noticed before, is how dark the subject matter is. These kids are committing suicide. One jumped off something and broke he's paralyzed. It's some really dark things, you know, and it's spliced with Freddy saying one-liners.
Of course, I know it is. It is. I love the set in this one. It's probably one of my favorite aspects of the movie. Is I love the dream settings. Like I said at the start, they went all out with the set pieces in this one. You can tell it's got a bigger budget. And I just like that we're taken away from Elm Street a bit, and we're in this mental institution for kids. Like you said, they've all got this shared delusion of this boogeyman that they're sharing these nightmares with. And the subject matter is grim. And obviously you've got Nancy Thompson coming back as well.
Yes.
This one made me laugh, right? Because she's supposed to come back and she's supposed to be someone for these people to look up to, which she is. But obviously, she's still quite young at this point, and they try and make her look older. There's a part where they're at a funeral and she's wearing a shawl and like that hat, and I was like, they're trying to make her look older because I feel like in their heads they were like, we can't have someone like the
Yes.
same age as them coming
Yeah.
in as like this intern and basically mentoring these people. So I genuinely feel like they were like, we want to bring Nancy back, but we need to make her look much older.
Yeah, and I suppose her hair was still grey from the first one.
Yeah,
She,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and because I think if I might have heard wrong last night, but I'm sure it's set 6 years after what happened to her. So
Yeah, I think
I'm
so. Yeah,
sure
6
she
years
said that.
maybe.
But yeah, it's such a good film. And I was laughing last night. You know the bit where the doctor, the man, I forget his name now.
Um,
What's his name in
well,
it?
that's Craig Wasson from Brian De Palma's Body Double, one of my favorites.
Right.
I can't
Well,
remember his name, but it's Craig Wasson. Yeah.
okay, well, the doctor, the male doctor in it, and he keeps seeing the nun, right? Ghostly nun, and spoiler alert, is Freddy's mother, Amanda Krueger. But he sees her in the distance, and when he looks away, she's gone. And I just remembered Scary Movie when she looks at Ghostface, and then when she looks
Ghostface.
away, and he's running behind a tree, and I imagine the nun running quickly, hiding. That's so sad. I
Um,
was laughing to myself.
yeah, let's go into that one a little bit, right? Because that is one of my favorite aspects of this movie. Like I said at the start, is
Yeah,
they delve into Freddy's background a bit more, and you get to find out about his origins and how he came to be, how he ended up being the way he ended up being. And this is what I love about this one because obviously, the more movies you do, the more they are going to delve into someone's backstory.
yeah,
And it's basically you've got his mother, which we don't actually know it's his mother, but she's kind of guiding this
yeah,
doctor on this journey to figure out how to stop Freddy. And she tells this great backstory because he ends up in a part of the hospital that hasn't been used in a long time, right? And it's terrifying. It's brilliant, brilliant set. And she tells him this story about a girl that was locked in this hospital and hidden away, and it was full of these maniacs. And they deliver this great line: "The bastard son of 100
yeah.
maniacs."
Oh, that's
Oh
so
my
good.
god! Just
Whoever thought of
every
that
time
was
I hear that,
genius.
I
Yeah,
know every time I hear that, right? I'm like,
yeah,
yes. And that's what really gets me into this film because sometimes less is better and you don't need to know too much about someone's backstory. You just need to know that this guy was a child killer and now he's killing them in their dreams. But I love that backstory and the whole bastard son of 100 maniacs,
yeah,
finding out that Freddy was born, well, a bastard of these
yeah.
maniacs. It's just fantastic.
Do you know what I love about this film? Know that when you're saying about the dream sequences, and in all fairness, all the films have really original dream sequences that have really creative things. And I wonder, like, does Freddy in his dream world thinking, like, what else should I do now? I've been a snake monster. I'm running out of ideas. Oh, I've done that. Let's try this. Or has he got a team of people? Like, okay, Freddy, you've been a snake monster twice now. You need to try something different. What about porridge steps like in the first one? Because they're
What
really
about that
creative.
that classic cliche of like writer's block? We've got a writer and he's
Yeah.
scrumping up pieces of paper, and then when he throws in the bin, it reveals 200 pieces of scrumpled up paper, and it's like, God, he's been there a long time trying to come
Yeah.
up with these.
And by part 6, I think Freddy was on a broomstick, wasn't he, flying like, I'll get you, my pretty thing. Yeah, that's that's probably when
Do you
he's
know,
done.
at one point, and it just goes to show how childish we are as kids, and how much our taste changes.
That was your favorite.
Freddy's Dead was my favorite. I loved that film, and I loved that Alice Cooper was in it. I
Yeah.
loved him flying on a broomstick, and I didn't watch it for years then, right? And I probably watched it a couple of years ago,
It's
and I was like,
terrible. It's
"Oh
so
my
shit.
god,
I know.
it's so bad."
So one of my favorite scenes in it, and it's very graphic, is the puppet scene. Now, we mentioned it at the start of the video when he
Yeah, perfect.
slices Philip's hands and pulls out his veins. When I was young, I didn't know what he's pulling out. I was like, what is that? And it's his veins. It's
Yeah, yeah.
very horrible. It's a really good practical effect. And this is what made me laugh again last night. I must have been half tired because I was laughing to myself. I accepted that Freddy was back from the dead, infecting these kids' dreams. I accepted that he played this boy like a puppet. But when the boy walked through the wall and disappeared, and I was like, oh, How's he done that?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything else is fine, but that, no way. I
I
call
I
bullshit.
was I was the exact same, and it weren't just that as well. It's whatever Freddy does to you in your dreams, it happens in real life. So if he cuts you, you know, you get the scars.
Yeah.
Well, he's walking down the corridor and he's completely fine. It's the only bit I was like, well, that just goes against what I hopefully someone can jump in the comments and correct me. But I was a bit confused because there isn't any marks on him while he's taking him down the corridor. Because
Yes. Well,
he's cut his arms and legs open. Do you
I
know what I mean?
suppose because I suppose that was just like an illusion of the dream. I suppose Freddy controls the dreams. We're looking into this bit too much.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
the main death was him falling off because they didn't find his body with like veins hanging out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
of course.
yeah. But yeah, it's a cool scene, but when you stop and think about it, it's like really horrifying to see. You know, you wouldn't see
Yeah, it
that in
is. And
Hellraiser even.
yeah, it's one of many fantastic scenes about this movie, and one of the best things it does is that it really takes its time on these great practical effects scenes, but it doesn't shove it in your face. You've got great build up, you've got great character development. It could have easily gone down that route because they had the budget for it and
Yeah.
just throw loads of shit in our face, give us more Freddy. But again, you hardly see Freddy in this movie until the
Yes.
finale, where you get a really good look at him, where they're fighting him in his lair. It does everything perfectly. It goes, no, let's keep Freddy in the shadows.
Yes.
He's huge at this point. You'd think that they would want more of him, but they keep him
Yeah.
in the shadows. And there's probably about 4 or 5 really good practical effects scenes. Specifically Patricia Arquette when she's being
Yes.
swallowed by the Freddy snake worm
Snake.
thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's one bit in particular in that scene, right, which is my favorite, is once he spat her out and his head lifts up and he's looking at Nancy and
You.
I don't know how they pulled it off. Every single scene in this movie that uses practical effects.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Even the
Even yeah, go on.
even the stop motion puppet, the
Puppet. I was just
Freddy.
about to say yeah.
Oh,
When his
sorry,
face.
sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. When his face molds, when
Yeah.
the blank face molds into Freddy,
Yeah. It's
this is a really really special film.
um.
And the
Carry on.
main
Sorry.
thing I wanted to say about this movie is that you've got like practical effects movie that everyone talks about, like American Werewolf in London, The Thing, the Evil Dead movies. But I feel like this one's the practical effects in this movie is a bit lost because it is such a big franchise. You've
Yeah.
got like 8 movies altogether now. I feel like this one, no one talks about the practical effects in this movie as much as they need
Yeah.
to because it is a bit lost in a big franchise.
And I think what's great about this film is that you could see that the ideas were coming from a really good creative team. They weren't just churning something out like the later ones. They were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if Freddy was one of the dummies and we used clay?" And he's like,
Oh,
"Yeah, I love
definitely. Yeah,
it."
yeah.
It wasn't just like, right, get him to kill somebody, get him this, get him that. And
Yeah, well, there's like 5 people who wrote the screenplay, and Frank Darabont is one of them. Funny enough,
all
I
right.
didn't know that. Obviously I know a lot about the film, but you always do a bit of research when you're
Yeah.
reviewing a film. And Frank Darabont's one of the writers. I had no idea.
Well, talking about writing, because Wes Craven came back onto this film, I kind of wish that he was in charge of the franchise, like 3 films, like he's been in charge of the Scream franchise.
Yes,
And I
I
wonder what
know.
Freddy would have become if he had been like, no, this is my baby. I'm making 3 films at least, and I'm taking it all away. How good would that have been? You
Yeah,
know?
I know, because I really dislike the second one, considering the contrast between the first one to how the second one ended up, and then how good the third one is. But
Yeah.
it really shows in this film that Wes Craven came back, and obviously they were supposed to finish the franchise here. There was going to be 3 movies, and then they were going to be done, and
Yeah.
that's why obviously you've got the big reveal with Nancy at the end.
Yes.
I don't know if I should say it or not. It's been out years, obviously, but obviously something happens at the end, and there's kind of no going back. And I feel
Yeah.
like it was the perfect ending for the franchise. I'm not disappointed they kept making them. I loved them growing up. I don't
Yeah,
like
me
the
too.
sequels as much now, but I had fun with them growing up. You know.
Now you've got one of the part of the plots is that why it's called Dream Warriors, that they can kind of control the dreams to a certain degree and have powers. You got a wizard, you got Kincaid, who's the big black kid who's really strong, and you got Joey the mute who can talk.
Well,
He can-
he's
oh
got
yeah, he
he's
can
got
scream. Yeah.
super
Yes.
scream.
And so the finale leads them to like Joey is kidnapped with tongues, which again, really creative. He's
Yeah,
because of
horrible.
his mouth, the tongue. And I noticed something that made me laugh. Freddy gets hit to the floor at the end, towards the end, and there's a flip up to his feet. Did you see him? And I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember that. I was like, oh, come on. Oh, he's a child murderer. How is he agile? He's been stretching in the afterlife. Practicing. Like, one more. Right. Okay, I'm ready. Right, bring him out. Bring him out. He's failed loads of times.
Yeah, of course. Do you know, talking about again, like last night, I was watching it and I forgot how great this montage was because it's quite uplifting when they all come together and they all realize their power
Yeah.
and they realize that they control their own destiny in these dreams because it's theirs. And you get this great scene where they all get their powers, but they get separated. And Freddy just butchers them all one by one.
Yeah. I
And I'm
know.
like, oh, this is great because it's said in the film that Freddy is a lot stronger now because of all the souls he's
Yes.
taken,
Yes.
and he is the Dream Master. And these kids have been doing it dazed, right? They can't stand up to him, and I just love that it's this
Yeah.
big uplifting bit, and you've got the wizard, and he gets really confident in that tunnel, and he
Yes.
charges towards Freddy, and he just
Yeah.
no,
And it's
no, it
yeah.
doesn't work
And
like that.
you feel like Freddy is just like toying with them. He's like, I can kill you instantly if I wanted to, but I'll let you have your little fun. But I'm gonna
Oh,
kill you.
100%.
What's your favorite scene or line in it?
Oh, come on, it's welcome to primetime, bitch.
Yes.
I know it's a cop out. I know it's
Yes.
probably the most famous line in the whole franchise, but just again, the practical effects in that scene with the TV, Freddy's head coming out in the arms, and I just love the way he picks her up and he delivers that line.
Yeah.
Video incoming. I'm not going to say it because I'll butcher it, but there'll be a video inserted there.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
And what I love as well, right, is the TV is heavily raised, heavily. It's raised off the floor, right?
Yeah.
It's on the
Quite
wall.
high.
It's when they come back in to see a dead body, and she's just
Yeah. And they're not
hanging,
suspicious. Oh, she killed herself.
hanging from the TV like that.
Yeah,
And I
it's-
thought, no, you can't get around this one now.
No.
There's something up, like.
So there's somebody's at least killed her, like in the
Yeah.
hospital. My favorite scene is probably I'm not going to say the nurse's tits. I was just say the nun's tits. The nurse's tits. No, not her. I wish I could remember the line, but I was going to say the primetime thing, but you nicked it. I love the bit when he's the boyfriend of the mother in the dream sequence. Where's my bourbon, bitch? And he cuts her head off.
Yes.
Does he say that? Something I'm paraphrasing.
I said, where's the fucking bourbon?
No, he does say almost that, I think, but at least close enough.
Yes.
But again, that's another scene I wanted to mention, right? Because even in the 80s, practical effects went up to scratch how they are now. If you had like a chopped off head these days, it would look great.
Yeah.
But you know, when her mother's talking, when her head's decapitated,
Yeah.
looks amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely flawless.
I love this film. I would highly recommend it. Even if you're not if you've seen the other ones or you've seen bits and bobs or whatever, this film is brilliant. You could watch this on your own. Do you reckon?
Oh, 100%. You can jump right in and watch this. The only thing you're going to miss out on is obviously the fan service with Nancy and her dad coming
Yeah.
back. And they do kind of obviously tie into the first one. But you can absolutely watch this one as a solo movie.
Yeah, 100%. Right. If you love horror films, love reviews, rankings, please subscribe and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.